You're listening to the Mind Over Finger podcast, episode number 147. Welcome to the Mind Over Finger podcast, discussions on mindful music making, efficient practice, optimal performance, and building a purposeful life and fulfilling career. I'm your host, violinist, and certified performance and life coach for musicians, Dr. René-Paul Gauthier. Hi everyone, I hope this episode finds you doing amazingly well. Today I have a really magical practice technique for you. I've shared this with my Facebook community already last year, and I talked about it on Instagram and Facebook, but this one absolutely deserves its own podcast episode, so here we are. And before I unveil this magic trick, I'm really excited to tell you that Practicing for Peak Performance, my online performance preparation program, is now available at mindoverfinger.com. Practicing for Peak Performance is your complete toolkit for optimal performance and your roadmap to flow. In Practicing for Peak Performance, we cover the 3 pillars that lead you to playing your best consistently in performance. You get the proven techniques and mindsets, and you will be guided step by step through the Mind Over Finger Peak Performance System. So if you feel stuck, if you're frustrated, if you feel like optimal performance and flow state are things that are still elusive for you, go to mindoverfinger.com and join us inside Practicing for Peak Performance. You're going to know exactly what to do, not only to prepare for the next big event, but to enjoy the whole experience. Practicing for Peak Performance is the complete blueprint to optimal performance, so you're going to be ready to rock any stage with unshakable confidence. Again, that's at mindoverfinger.com, and I'm going to have the link in the show notes. Now, let's talk magic. One of my coaching clients, thank you, Tom, made me discover a fantastic podcast called The Huberman Lab, hosted by Andrew Huberman, neuroscientist from Stanford University. And I strongly recommend you all subscribe and listen to it because it's a gold mine of information. So, in July of 2021, Andrew Huberman released a fantastic episode about the science of accelerated learning. There's so much interesting information in this episode. Make sure to catch it. And I'll put a link in the show notes. And at the very beginning of the episode, specifically the first 9 minutes, he talks about a study that had just come out at the time and that highlighted a really powerful technique to accelerate our practice, something called micro offline gains. Although, as he explains, the brain does not quite go offline, and the benefits of including micro rest periods within our practice session. And that's what we're going to talk about today. This blew my mind. So I immediately shared it with my community, and we tried it, and everyone thought it was magical. And it's such a simple, elegant, yet powerful exercise. I want to make sure I mention it here again on the podcast. Let me first share with you what the study says, and then I'll talk about how you can implement that in your practice. The study this technique is from is titled Consolidation of Human Skill Linked to Waking Hippocampal Neocortical Replay. It's published in Cell Reports. It's available openly online, and it's a great read and not overly complex if I compare it to some other studies. So I think it's worth your time to read over if this kind of material interests you. So I will share the link in the show notes as well. So as musicians, we already know the importance of generating many repetitions when we're trying to acquire a skill or learn new repertoire. We also know that we learn a lot from the mistakes that we make and that they're an integral part of acquiring those skills and mastering those new pieces. And we're starting to be more and more aware of the importance of spaced repetition in our preparation process. It also turns out that taking micro rests within a learning episode, or let's say when we're working on a passage, is very important. This new data says that we actually should be introducing short breaks within these learning episodes. And I'm not talking about 1 or 2 minutes here and there where you stretch or move around or pick up your phone to check your messages. I'm talking about micro rest periods of active rest during only a few seconds in between sets of repetitions of a passage. This helps with the acquisition of skills and knowledge and information. Let me explain a bit more here. To conduct the study, scientists asked a study group to repeat a sequence on a keyboard. And they had one group practice this repeatedly, and they had another group take 10 seconds of wakeful rest at intervals in between sets of repetitions. So during this rest, they're not looking at their phone, they're not focusing on anything, they're not trying to problem solve, they're not looking at the music, they're not looking at their nails. They let their mind drift. They're taking 10 seconds of wakeful rest. It could look like simply breathing, closing your eyes, and just be present. So wakeful rest is a great opportunity to practice presence. So after about 10 seconds of that wakeful rest, participants went back and redid the sequence. Scientists recorded magnetoencephalography during the experiment, and what they found was that the rates of learning, the skill acquisition, and the retention of skill was significantly faster with the group using short periods of rest. They call these moments of micro offline gains because it feels like the brain is going offline. But actually, what happens is that the hippocampus and the neocortex, they activate temporal compression. And during that time, where we're just idle, the brain is replaying what you just repeated physically, but at 20 times the speed. So, if in 10 seconds you're getting 5 physical repetitions of a short sequence of notes on your keyboard or your instrument, you multiply that by 20 times, that means that your brain repeats it 100 times during a micro rest period. The scientists state that these micro offline gains indicate a rapid form of skill memory consolidation. In other words, you internalize more information faster and more deeply. That's amazing. Talk about efficiency. And there's a very clear graphical abstract of those results that I'll include in the transcript of the episode, which you can get at mindoverfinger.com/resources. Okay, so we know that information gets consolidated into skill during sleep. But there's also consolidation of information in wakeful moments, which is what those micro rest periods allow. And let me clarify, we still need to plan ahead. We need to start practicing weeks and months before a big performance because sleep is really important, crucial in the learning process and the consolidation of skills. And now we know that we can also accelerate our learning rate within a practice session by taking these micro breaks during the learning episodes. Now, let's see how we could use this in our practice, how you could do this at home. Let's say you're working on a passage. You can try what I like to do, which is to set a certain amount of time to work on a passage. I like periods that are just long enough so I can see improvement, but not too long so I don't get bogged down in perfectionism. So I try to estimate how long it's going to take me to improve a passage a little bit, and I set that limit mentally. Once you've done that, practice or repeat the passage for a short amount of time, maybe 20 to 60 seconds, or for a set number of repetitions, let's say 5 to 10 repetitions, depending on the length of the passage. Then, take 10 seconds of wakeful rest. Breathe, release physical tension, relax, maybe close your eyes. You are being idle. This is a moment of pure presence. You're not looking at your phone. You're not looking at the music. You're not trying to solve a problem. You just chill. You just relax. Then continue alternating this practice and rest segments until you feel like you've completed your work with that passage or the time is up. So for example, if a 2-measure chunk is not too difficult and I'm estimating that I can make significant strides in 3 minutes, I'll set this as my goal. And I'll alternate these physical repetitions of the passage with these wakeful rest periods for 3 minutes. I'll assess my progress, and then I'll move on to another passage or to practicing something else entirely. Like I told you at the beginning, every time I use this technique, I'm blown away with how effective it is. It really does feel magical. I also love the side benefits of this technique. As you know, I'm all about mind over finger, about alignment over effort, about the proper effort. And this makes so much sense to me to give the brain frequent opportunities to reset, to process the information, to sort it, and to assimilate it. I also find that these moments of rest, of wakeful and mindful rests, really enhance my presence, my focus. It prevents my mind from racing, I'm present, and it makes me very intentional. And it's also a wonderful opportunity to rest my body, my muscles, to release unnecessary tension, and I find it emotionally calming. It really is a great use of our time as we're in the middle of a practice session to consolidate both the acquiring of information and the consolidation of skills, but also to do it in a way that is efficient for the mind and body. If there's an exercise that can help you bring more mindfulness in your practice, it could be this one. I'm really excited about it. It's always so effective for me, and I hope you all try it with me this week. Have fun with this. Experiment with the technique, how long you go or how many reps before you take your wakeful rest. Decide what your approach is going to be, how long you're going to work on something, and at the end, assess your progress. See if you feel like it has yielded some results for you. Explore how you're feeling, what you're thinking, all of these things. And you could take things even further by following your practice session with a short meditation or a short nap. So, again, to resume, try this today. Practice a passage for 10 to 30 seconds or for a set number of repetitions. Rest for 10 seconds. Breathe and release physical tension. Don't focus on anything. Just chill and let your mind drift. Continue alternating practice and rest segments until you feel you've completed your work with the passage or the time you allotted for it is over. And assess your progress using these questions to enhance your awareness. How did the passage feel this time? What worked better? And why? All right, this is what I have for you this week. Try the micro rest technique in your work and send me a DM or reach out on social to let me know how it worked for you. And if you enjoyed trying out this new technique and you're curious to learn more ways to feel confident and free in your next concert or audition, check out Practicing for Peak Performance, your step-by-step roadmap to optimal performance. Go to mindoverfinger.com/PPP and experience a new way of thinking that works and will get you results. Much love going your way, and à bientôt. Thank you guys so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Mind Over Finger podcast. If this content was helpful for you, please share with everyone you think could benefit from it. Take a screenshot, share on social media, and tag me. I'm Mind Over Finger everywhere. So reach out, send me a DM, and let me know how this content helped you. Let's keep the conversation going. As always, I have all the information related to this episode in the show notes. You can find them via your podcast app or by visiting mindoverfinger.com, where you can also find more free resources on efficient practice and performance preparation, links to sign up to my free workshops, and information on how to work with me. Don't forget to sign up for my newsletter to receive your free guide to a productive mindful practice, transcripts from the Mind Over Finger podcast episodes delivered to your inbox every week, and more. Also, join the Mind Over Finger Facebook community, my private group, for access to my live videos and to exchange with a community of like-minded musicians. So, make sure you're subscribed to the podcast, and if you have specific questions for me or my guests that you would like answered in an episode, share them with me using the link in the show notes or send me a DM on Instagram or Facebook. That's it for today. Again, thank you, and à bientôt!